How have your political opinions changed as you've aged? My political ideology changed drastically from high school to when I graduated college and then again as I've gotten older. I'm curious. Has anyone else's political opinions changed drastically as you've gotten older? What life experiences changed how you see the world? Early 20s, so I haven't aged much, but my political beliefs have just gotten more nuanced. Things used to be black and white. Now I'm lost in grays. Studying American history and law made me realize how what many people consider the way it's always been is a complete historical aberration, and that the US has rarely lived up to its founding principles. I grew up around conservative Catholics. I was told many times that I would wise up and become more conservative as I got older. I'm nearing 40 now, and if anything, I've become more liberal over the years. I was a white suburban anarchist skater punk when I was a kid. As I grew up, I started to think that shit was silly. So I put it away and tried to become more adult in my political thinking. Turns out, I had it right to begin with it. I have been liberal and have only become more progressive with age. Grew up extremely liberal. Became more centrist with age. It's more that the older I've gotten, currently in my 40s, the more I think things through, and I've gone from moderate in my youth to liberal progressive as a middle-aged adult. I've steadily drifted left with age. And I used to be fairly on the right and a libertarian. With a massive spike when I got my first full-time job. This is mostly with economics. I've always been fairly left-leaning socially. Studies have shown that every generation before millennials grew more conservative with age. This has broken down with millennials, who tend to actually become more progressive left. This is mostly explained by the general lack of empathy in society, leading people who have attained some level of wealth to feel like they want it protected instead of shared. Millennials became adults in a world where accumulating wealth was much harder, and solidified their views on the values of a society that supports its less fortunates. I've become a bit more liberal as I've aged, especially on sexuality, gender issues. Yes, I was conservative when I was younger, but now that I'm older, I'm a lot more liberal. I'm becoming more conservative fiscally as I've had to be more responsible with my finances. I feel the government should as well. I also just want the government to get out of the way and let me live my life, and I'll stay out of the way and let others live theirs. Neither major political party is close to those views in my opinion. 43. Probably more progressive. My opinions have changed as I have acquired more life experience. Very conservative Catholic in high school. Sort of a non-political, enlightened centrist type in undergrad. Way further left once I got into the workforce for a few years. Yes, I grew up in a very conservative home, and as I've aged, I've definitely become more liberal. When they overturned Roe vs. Wade last summer, that was the biggest wake-up call for me. I didn't like the idea that human rights were being taken away from women. I took one of those checklist tests in like 5th grade and was conservative across the board. Makes sense because I was raised in a Christianity-based cult. Ever since I could vote, I've been voting blue. I don't mind paying more taxes to help people or the place I live. I care about education. I care about all humans and cannot grasp those who don't. Other people's lives are just that. Their lives. It just makes sense for who I am now. Raised conservative, became more progressive, and now politics is all just bullshit. I was more liberal teen. Then a Nazi stabbed me. Went more left, and now as I approached 50 firmly a green and black anarchist with a misanthropic outlook as we creep toward Gilead. I grew up in a conservative Christian cult, and now I'm extremely left-leaning and follow my cultural traditions instead of any religion. Not really. I would say that I have the same values and political beliefs that I held as a teenager. Maybe a better grasp of some of the political realities of actually trying to get things done. I have not become conservative as I have aged and as my income has gone up. I have no issues paying taxes, and I think that the one need to pay their share as well. I've been hard left all my life. And now I'm pushing 40. All that's changed is that I no longer sneer at the right. We have very different priorities. But we all want what's best for the country. This doesn't apply to politicians. I find right-wing politicians distinctly more grotesque on average than those on the left. Liberal to left-leaning independent. I used to be a solid blue voter. Then realized that neither party had my best interests at heart, so I started voting for third-party candidates that matched my values. My stance on guns has softened. Ironically, not because I want deregulation, but because I've lost so much trust in the government that I could legitimately imagine a revolution. Didn't care for politics in high school. Got very left-leaning in undergrad. Through pharmacy school and residency I shift back closer to center, where I now currently describe myself as center-left. I've always been a leftist, but over time, the more informed, aware and sophisticated my political awareness has gotten, the more radically progressive I've become. I started out reading Noam Chomsky, and now I'm really interested in constitutional law and how to thwart the Federalist Society. I was pretty liberal in high school and college. Like just about everyone else. I'm in my mid-30s and I've yet to vote Republican. But with the Democratic Party losing its ties to reality, I've started to consider it. Fairly libertarian as a youth. Hippie in my 20s. More conservative as I've grown older. And please don't think I prefer Trump because I am conservative. I see a big difference between the former president and conservative. I have been a lifelong Republican. When I registered to vote way back when, I had to declare which party and declared Republican. Now that I am older, having seen what has been going on for the past several years, I am done. As a woman, a mother and a grandmother, I am done with the Republican Party. As a proud niece of a lesbian and aunt of a transgender boy who committed suicide, I am done with the Republican Party. As a very worried and sad American one, I'm done with the Republican Party. This is what I declare. I've become more fiscally conservative as I get older. Especially when bonus checks get 35 taken out of them. That's always fun. Far more conservative libertarian as an adult. As a kid I was relatively liberal. Oh sweet youthful ignorance. Where have you gone? I've cared less. And less. And less. Then not at all. I was broke when Republicans ran it. I'm broke when Democrats run it. Shit sucked when Republicans run it. Shit sucks when Democrats run it. There is no difference to me on a level any higher than who's the president. So I'll just leave myself out of the headache of being pissy all the time at half the country. I was a young liberal and then grew wiser.